Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Today, a new kit from ICM. Hot on the heels of their new release of the Sally bomber, the Japanese bomber. They've now come out with this this set, which is actually, it's called In the Skies of China. And it basically is very interesting because if some of you might remember, in one of my many Matchbox kit reviews when I did the Buccaneer and I think it was the Mirage 3, and we did talk in one or two of those videos about the fact that on the artwork from the great artist Roy Huxley there was often two of the aircraft depicted, and somebody actually complained in the 70s, made a formal complaint. Some parents said, my child was upset because it shows two on the cover and there's only one of the aircraft inside. Which seems a bit greedy, I thought. But anyway, this was a genuine issue, and the manufacturer is so worried about being sued, basically, which seems quite ridiculous to most of us, I'm sure. Anyway, they changed the artwork to remove the second aircraft or tank or whatever it was. Absolutely crazy. Political correctness gone completely bonkers. Anyway, I mentioned that because, at least here, with this latest kit from ICM, you're not going to have that problem, because everything you see on this in this artwork on the front, which is rather nice box art, it has to be said, everything is included. So you get two escort fighters, which are the Nakajima 27 Nate. I think it was its sort of code name that we called it in the West, Nate or Nate, I'm not sure. So we've got basically what is the Sally bomber, which was released only a few months ago by ICM, the new bomber kit. And this is like a combo, so we've got quite a lot in the box, and it's interesting. You shake this box and there's nothing, there's no rattle comes out of it because it's so many parts tightly packed in together. And they've also got to give us a nice, easy to read bit of info on the side, so I'll read you that because it's against the nice fluffy clouds, and black on sort of pale blue, white is easy. So without further ado, I'll read it to you. It says, on the 7th of July 1937, the incident of the Luguiquao Bridge near Beijing started the Sino-Japanese War between China and Japan. From the very first days of the invasion, the Japanese Navy's aircraft held the brunt of the attack, and this forced the Army Air Force to increase its supply of aircraft. By the spring of 1938, the Ki-27A, Nakajima Nate, fighter appeared in the skies over China. Its combat qualities combined with high training of its personnel allowed the Japanese Air Force to gain an immediate advantage over the Chinese Air Force. In their air battles, the fighter successfully fought the Soviet-made Il-15 and Il-16 aircraft. Also in 1938, the Ki-21 LA bombers appeared in the Chinese skies, and the 60th Sentai was the first to receive them. So that's a fighter group, bomber group, I should say. The planes are immediately involved in active combat operations, and their crews managed to develop an effective tactic of use. They maintained a close combat formation in the target area, combining this with mutual fire support. For a certain period of time, these aircraft were the only long-range bombers in the Japanese Air Force. This box contains parts for one Sally bomber and two Ki-27 fighters. Okay. So, without further ado, let's have a quick look on the side. Look at that. So on the side you can actually see here that clearly you do get all those things. You get the two fighters, yeah, and it actually shows two different schemes for the fighters as well. Two fighters and one bomber. So that's actually really rather impressive, and it reminds me of the sort of dogfight doublesy thing that Airfix used to do, and I quite like this idea that you get, I'm not sure I want two of the same thing if it's bigger, like we did have that with some of the Edward kits, didn't we? Two Spitfires and two ME-109s, and that's the one I got, two Zeros. Well, I gave one of my Zeros away to a relative of mine because I don't really understand why they're charging, I don't know, £44 for a kit. There's basically two kits and you only really need one. It's kind of the opposite of the Matchbox thing, isn't it? Anyway, not to worry, but this is good because we've got two little ones and one big one. So I think this is quite a clever idea from ICM. Let's see what we got. And ICM, of course, have generously given me this kit for me to review it. So I should say that at the beginning up front, and we will see the very latest tooling and see what this is like, because I've never seen any of these aircraft before in kit form, so for me this is going to be a bit of a first. So, can I get in? It's always the challenge. We've learned now to put it on its side. This is the way you get into an ICM kit. If you try and do it vertically, it doesn't work. You can only do it by pulling it out like this, side on, so that you're not fighting gravity. That way, generally, it comes off fairly easily. So that's the secret, folks. Right, here we go. I was right. We have got plenty of bags. Well, obviously these fighters, I'm guessing, are literally two complete duplications, and they are, so there's not much point in opening both. So we'll open one of them, but there are two fighters, which is stress, and one bomber. So for the interest of speed, we'll leave one of those in there. And we'll pop that back over there for a moment. That. So, what have we got? This is quite exciting, something new, something a bit more interesting, a little bit, it's also something I don't know that much about as well. It says here, okay, well they actually give a bit of detail on the Sally bomber, which it doesn't mention on the side, so we'll read it out. So the Ki-21 IA Sally bomber, first production version of the K-21 was the K-21 IA. Excuse me. Deliveries of these aircraft to air units began in 1938. Soon the bombers were already involved in the Japan-China incident, which quickly turned into a full-scale war. The Ki-21 IA equipped air groups were engaged in active combat operations and bombed the territory of China in the spring of 1939. The Ki-21s took part in combat operations over the Kachin Gol River, testing me this is on pronunciation, where their targets were Soviet units. Gosh, attacking everybody. Later, when Japan began warfare against the United States, the US Air Force pilots gave this bomber the name Sally. After the appearance of more advanced models over time, the first modification bombers were transferred then to flight schools. Interesting. So for the Sally, performance data. Takeoff weight maximum 7.5 tons. That doesn't sound very heavy, does it? Gosh. Sounds light, doesn't it? It's not a huge thing. I mean, it's not much bigger than a Mosquito, really. Interesting. And it's got length 16.5 metres, wingspan 22 metres. Engine is 2 Nakajima Hakai 2 times 1080 horsepower. Quite powerful. Speed maximum 432 k's. That's about 300 miles an hour, isn't it? And service ceiling 8,600 metres. So that's 24,000 feet. Maximum ferry range 2,700 kilometres. What's that? That's about 1,500 miles, isn't it? 1,600 miles. And then armament 3 to 5, 7.7 millimetre, 7.7 centimetre machine guns. Gosh, and also 1,000 kilogram bombs. They've spelled bombs, B-O-B-M-S, bombs. Anyway, never mind. So, very interesting. Let's have a look what we've got there. So we've got obviously quite a few bits of. We've got some data on the fighter now. I like this. They're giving lots of information about these aeroplanes. So we've got. I think I'm right in saying it's a separate instruction sheet. Separate instruction sheet for the fighter. So we'll probably do this first. Well, but I've started with the bomber, so I think we'll come back to the fighter. I'm just going to confuse everybody otherwise. So, in terms of the fighter then, we have got some very nice decals here for these little Nate fighters, or Nate fighters, not quite sure how you pronounce it. Nakajima. And, you know, ICM's decals are pretty decent. So that's that. We'll put that to one side, as I say, and we'll get straight in and have a look at the bomber. So I'll have a look at the bomber's decals. So obviously got much bigger meatballs, or rising suns if you want to call them that. Well, the rising sun has usually got the sort of sun rays coming off it, hasn't it? There's your instrumentation. Some very nice decals, and not too much of it, I have to say. There's not over-awing, is it? You know, there's a reasonable amount there. Stencils, minimal. So what we've basically got is two kits in one here. So we've got our Sally instructions, and there's a couple of parts that you don't use on this particular variant. Obviously there's different variants coming out. And then we start with sides of your fuselage going together. Tail is a separate section. I hope there's a good join there. And then we've got instrumentation in the cockpit going in, cockpit floor, the seats for the pilot, the navigator, the yoke, and then you've got the navigator's yoke as well. And we've got what looks like fuel tanks. These things look like cases almost, don't they? Fuel tanks there. Just wondering if I've got enough light on me here. A bit more light. There we go, brighter. And then the fuel tanks going in further back, bringing all this internal detail together into one side of the fuselage, and then you're adding in all the little windows and instruments that go on the side, and then you've got the lower part of the floor, as it were, of the cockpit area, internal fuselage. Then you've got one of these gun battery machine guns going in there, and that's going to be placed in the nose, I think. Then you're doing exactly the same process, but you're doing it on the opposite side, so on the port side this time. All the same parts going in, all the guns going in into the gun ports, poking out, very interesting. Then you get your instrumentation in the cockpit being put in onto the instrument panel, and you've got the top, the gun emplacement that goes right on the top there, and again I mentioned there's one at the front. You can see the machine gun coming in here, going through the little port in the front glass, and then you've got all this sort of greenhouse glass. There's a lot of glass in this. You're definitely going to need a masking set, no question about that at all. Then we're going to do our horizontal stabilisers at the back, and very nicely they've got separate elevators and separate rudder. Then you're going to build up the nacelle section ready for the engines, putting those into the wing, and the wing top and bottom goes together as well. You've got ailerons coming in here, and then you've got your repeating the whole process there on the port wing, and then you're going to bring those wings in together to the fuselage. Tail wheel goes on here, then the main gear, and the struts to retract them. Then we've got various parts that are just supporting those main gear legs, and then you're going to build up the nacelles for the engines, and then fit those over the top of the gear. Then you're building the engines themselves, which are going to go in the front. Pop your propellers and your spinners on, and then you've got various aerials going on the top here as well. And then, oh my god, I don't believe this. Look at this. This is. I was saying you're going to need a mask set. Well, I think you are, because you know they've got mask templates here, but that is going to take you forever. Just look at the amount of these mask templates you've got to produce. That's a slight problem. That's a slight problem. And I would say to ICM, and I'm not trying to be critical here, because obviously, as you know, I've been given this kit to review. But on a subject like this, I don't think there's any way. It's just too complicated. It's kind of off-putting, even for an expert modeller, when you see that. That is frightening. There are how many? 130 glass stencils you've got to work on. That's got to be a record. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. 130 windows it's got, basically. I'm lost for words. I think ICM, you really need to provide an actual stencil sheet that's got adhesive stencils, really, like Edouard do. That's one thing they get right, is their stencils, and that, I'm sure that people are gasping, watching this video, are going to be gasping as much as I am. I'm going to show it you zoomed in again, because I want you to understand I am not exaggerating. Here we go. So you can see them all here. The vast array of stencils. This is going to eat your time like nothing you've probably ever experienced before. And it goes on and on and on until you get to number 130 at the end. Wow. Now, I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about this kit. It's completely new to me. So, as I say, I'm not trying to be ungrateful to ICM or critical, but I think the nature of this aircraft makes it such a challenge. I think to actually then have to make up those stencils using a template, this is going to take you a month of Sundays, literally, to put these on. So I think, at the very least, to have any chance of building an aircraft like this, we need to have a self-adhesive pre-cut stencil set, yeah, like Edouard did. So that's my advice to ICM on that one. And then finally we get into our colour call-out, which looks very nice. I think it's going to lose a point because of the stencils and templates thing. I think it's so critical on a kit like this that you have something to help you, and that isn't really enough, I don't think. That's too complicated. Anyway, here's the colour call-outs, and they are looking pretty fine. I have to say, some quite interesting schemes here. And then we've got the, what have we got? The Sentai 60th Air Group. And then we've got the Sentai 58th Air Group. Or the 14th Air Group with a similar typical sort of Japanese paint scheme. And then finally we've got the Training Flight Regiment, and this has got some very interesting camo on it. Almost looks like Italian camo. It's a little bit like that. Very squiggly, I think is the best way to describe it. Well, there we go. So that's the instructions. I must have been a bit taken aback by the amount of glass. Oh my lord, I don't seem to like it. I mean, if you're in this aircraft, it must have been like being in an oven, mustn't it? Because to have so many windows, in that part of the world as well, where you get, tropical temperatures, etc. It must have been quite uncomfortable at times, I would imagine. Right, I'm going to put the decals away. All of them. Right, let's have a look at the plastic then. So again, I've never seen this before, so it's completely new to me. And I haven't seen any other reviews of it either, so it's when the world was new. Quote from Star Trek for you there. What have we got here? Well, there's going to be a lot of clear parts, I suspect. Okay. Right then, so remember it's 72nd scale, so it's not huge, but it's not small either. It's quite a size. Well, shall we start with the glasswork? The many windows that this aircraft has. Why don't we get stuck into that? It's going to give us a chuckle at the beginning, isn't it? Yes, this is a right scary one. And then people sometimes, they make comments to me and say things like, "Oh Pete, I'm not very experienced, or I'm a newcomer. What should I do about this?" And my answer to a newcomer would be, just don't paint the glass. Yeah, just leave it all clear. Don't worry about the frames, just leave it. And here's why. I think some more experienced modellers might be agreeing with that as well. Look at this. Okay. So, see what I mean about it? It looks like Kew Gardens, doesn't it? That's the biggest greenhouse I've seen since I was in Kew Gardens, the famous horticultural building in London. And that's the front of it, of the cockpit area, and this is the sort of passenger/gunner area further back. And then you've got all these other frames and all these other windows that you need to take care of underneath and in the nose. So it's just incredible, isn't it? The sheer... That's generating 130 masks you need to produce for this. It's got to be a record. Scary, scary stuff. But the glass itself is lovely, isn't it? It's really nice, very crisp looking. Can't find anything wrong with the actual plastic. That's great. It's just, it really is just a case of how on earth you're going to handle it, because this is going to be quite a challenge, I think. Yeah, quite a challenge. In fact, it's so much of a challenge and it's so frightening. I'm going to resort to having a drink just to calm myself up. That I've got some lovely English beer here. This is Crafty Old Hen, very fine ale, real ale. Very nice indeed. I'm sure many of you have had it, so you probably know how good it is. I think I need that, seeing all those stencils. Right, let's look at the grey plastic now. So, we won't dwell on the glasswork, we'll have a look at the rest. Here we have the main fuselage on the starboard side. And I have to say, I'm not sure why they decided to go with this. Here's starboard, here's the port side as well, of course. I'm not sure why they decided to go with this particular design. It's interesting, but I must say the quality of the moulding it looks really nice. It looks nice. You almost want to get the glue out immediately on this one. It's got this lovely ICM plastic which they use, which is like this very satin sort of finish. Nice panel lining there. Brings the details out nicely, and it enables you to see it quite well. I like that. It's very nice indeed. So that is a good start. Then we've got two of these sprues, so I'll put one on one side. Then we've got the sprue that's got all the engine parts on. There's some pretty small pieces here. We've got our landing gear legs, and we've got the wheels and tyres, the main wheels and tyres. We've got the engine components and the cylinders. We have got the control yoke here, and lots of parts like the little oxygen bottles here. Aren't they small? Tiny. Bits of the undercarriage down here. Sorry, no, that's not. That's actually the intake for the engine intake, air intake. That is really nice, very nice sprue. Then we have the tail section. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. If I zoom you out again, just to try and explain this. So you've got this this section where I hope it's a good fit. That's all I can say. But I must admit, I think it will be. That looks pretty nice actually. So you've got this tail here, and then you've horizontal stabilisers there. And then we have got quite a big sprue here, which has got the main wings on it. So it's the top and bottom basically of the well actually it's slightly oddly it's the bottom of the starboard wing and the top of the port wing. Strange. But you do get to see now, if I zoom you in, you can see the beautiful, very exquisite panel lining that they've got here. Lovely little access hatches that you can just about make out. I hope the camera's getting it as well as I am, because it's pretty nice, I've got to be honest. Very nicely done, that is. There's a lot of detail there. Look at the nice moulding there. Remember, this is one of the very latest toolkits from ICM. The plastic's nice, the moulding is exquisite. Nicely moulded propeller. Again, you can see the lovely panel lining here on the lower wing. Very nice, that. Beautiful, beautiful. Gorgeous. And then, well, the other side is the other sprue, I should say, is the opposite wing and all the other areas. So you've got the machine gun turret, if you will. Not really a turret, but it's like an emplacement. And you've got the other wing. Then you've got the other optional tail, which you're not going to use, I don't think, in this case. And then you've got some beautiful detail here on this horizontal elevators. Look at those. Those are nice, aren't they? That's very good detail. And then you've got little oxygen bottles over here. And then you've got the cockpit interior. Very nicely done for a 70-second scale, remember. That's a corking little kit, that is. Well, interesting. I've got to say that the only negative here is this glasswork problem with the framework, you know, with the mask. Ignoring that, it's phenomenal, beautiful kit in 1/72. That's a real corker. I'm going to put that over there, and then we're going to have a look at the fighters. There's two of these, of course. So what I'll do, if you just bear with me 1 second, otherwise everything will get mixed up. And I'd like to avoid that if we can. I'll get the bomber back in its bag. And I'll pop those in. All these other fuselage, etc. parts. And then we'll have a look at these fighters. There we are. Well, that was very impressive, I have to say. Now, fighters. So let's have a look at the instructions for the fighters. So, looks like we're getting two different options in terms of the markings. And we have got the Sentai Commander Toshio Kato, Nomahan, in June of 1939. Well, or Sentai 2 Tutai Nomahan in June 39. Sorry, June 39. Slightly less, maybe a little bit less striking. Okay, so this is actually the call-outs. So then we've got the 59 Sentai, slightly more striking again. Bit more stripies on that one. And then we've got the 59 Sentai in Tutai Nomahan, June 39 again. That's perhaps the most striking of the lot. Would have been nice if these had been colour, I've got to say. That's kind of really negative against that. It's not really showing you the colours as much as I'd like to have seen. Anyway, here we have the instruction leaflet for it, and it says this was the first, the Ki-27A Nakajima Nate was the first fighter aircraft of the Japanese Imperial Army. The first two prototypes were built by the Nakajima Company and were flying in October 1936. Series production was ordered in December 37 as the Type 97 fighter model. Ki-27s had an excellent manoeuvrability and was a serious enemy to the Soviet-built I-15 BIS and I-16 fighters in air battles over China and Mongolia in 1938 and 1939. Wow. So length 7.5 metres, span of 11.3 metres, start weight 1.8 tonnes. Light, isn't it? Same weight as a modern car, you know. A modern sort of medium-sized saloon weighs that, or a SUV. Nakajima engine is the HA1B 780 horsepower, and maximum speed is 470 k's. That's about 300 miles an hour. Service ceiling 10,000 metres. That's 30,000 feet. That's quite high. Maximum range 1,000 kilometres. Armament 2 times 7.7 Type 89 machine guns. Well, that's rather nifty, isn't it? Right, so I like the way they've done this. It's I've got a feeling that this might be an older tool. That this is it's not, though, is it? Because I actually looked it up and it actually was declared as a new tool. When I looked it on Scale Mates, but anyway, just the style is different. It almost reminds you of a sort of an earlier idea. So you're building up your seat, and then you're going to create the engine. Then you've got some of the engine bearers here that are the engine will fit into. Bringing your fuselage halves together. Then you're building up your gear, because it's a fixed undercarriage on this aircraft, so yeah, it's fixed in place at all times. You've got your wing, bringing your lower wing, that is. The lower wing is going to have this, the lower centre of the cockpit on it. And sure enough, you then bring in the seat and the cannons onto the top there, and then ultimately your top wing, obviously you brought the fuselage down, and you're bringing in your top wing on top, and the rudder and the vertical the horizontal stabilisers with the elevators are there, and your rings going across in front of your engine here, and then the final step is just the canopy, your ailerons, which are nice because you can probably pose those, and then you got your single blade propeller, two bladed prop if you will, and then this rather spindly looking undercarriage going in underneath, and that's kind of it really. So okay, quite interesting. I think it's going to lose points for this glasshouse problem. It's probably going to gain them back by having some interesting fighters included. Yeah. In terms of retail price on this, I think this kit's retailing at about £34–35 in the UK, thereabouts. So it's 3 kits in one. It's not bad, is it? So what have we got? Okay, well, it's a dinky little thing. It's nice. Yeah, I think this is of an older origin. It looks a little bit older to the other kit to me. Yeah, let's have a look. Yep. And there's also little tiny hints of flash here and there, which were definitely not visible on the other. And it's a very nice little fuselage. You've got your engine parts here, cylinders for the engine there. We've got our horizontal stabilisers and elevators here, and again, just look where my finger is, there's just a hint of flash, just a hint of it on the end of those. So I think this is a slightly older tool, despite what ScaleMates is telling me. And then you've got your 2-bladed propeller, and again a hint of flash on the end of that, just a tiny hint. And we have got our machine guns again, a little echo of flash there. Excuse me. Yeah, very nice little plane. And then on the other sprue we've got our wings, lower wing, only one piece. Got some nice panel line detail, hasn't it? Got raised rivets, very nice. It does look like an older generation of kit, doesn't it, I would say. Yeah, I'm not convinced this is a new tool at all. Just not. I'm sure one of you's looking it up on ScaleMates now, just doing a double check, because I saw that it was talking about 2022, 2023, and I'm not believing that this particular tooling is that recent. There's no way. But it's very nice, dinky little fighter. And that's very nice indeed. So, just leaves me to have a look at these clear parts. Let's have a look. Oh, aren't they tiny? Look at this. They're small. Very small canopy. Yeah. But yeah, it's nice. Again, in terms of the quality of it, I think it's an older generation of kit. Pretty sure it is. It just looks it, doesn't it, somehow? But very, very acceptable indeed. So what do we think then? What do we think? Well, I'm convinced that's an older tooling. Not a problem. You know, I'm sure you can soon trim a bit of flash off here and there. It's only a tiny amount. It's not like some kits that we've seen. And I think that having 2 of those, okay, it's double trouble, isn't it? But it's a very nice little kit, that. You've got your own instructions, it's got its own decals, separate from the bomber that it's escorting. It's a nice kit, I guess because it definitely seems a bit older, I'm probably going to have to knock it off a fraction, maybe a quarter of a point for the flash and stuff, you know. And then on the main bomber kit, of course, can I get this back in? This is going to be a challenge. This is how I get into trouble now, not being able to return it. Let's see, we'll see. Squeeze. Oh no, it went. Okay, right, so I think the quality of the Sally is absolutely superb. The only criticism is that the lack of a mask set when you've got 130 masks are needed. Can't believe it. Oh Lord, I've never seen anything quite like that. I think perhaps ICM in the future need to reconsider about whether they get somebody to produce some masks, maybe get Edouard to do it for them. In fact, that'd probably be a good solution. Even if they have to charge another, £1 or £2 for that, I think that would be sensible. But it's a nice little set and a very modest price. I think I'll give that 9 out of 10. Only held back by this mask issue and a bit of flash on the fighters. But I think 9 is fair. The Betty on its own is probably a 9.5. I mean, I don't know if some of you may know that Edouard or some other manufacturer may already have a mask set readily available, in which case there's not really too much of a problem. It's just a little bit frustrating it doesn't come in the kit, and to show that instruction where it says you need to create 130 masks like that, that's probably asking a lot of modelers. I think it's a bit extreme, so I think another solution would be better. But anyway, 9 out of 10 from me. I think that's a very nice kit indeed. I enjoyed looking at that. It's something different as well. And I love the plastic on that the Sally bomber. I do like the plastic on it. Very, very nice and crisp. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Hope you'll give me a 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up, a like. Ding that like button. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as we say, and don't forget to ding the notification bell because that's very important. Make sure you select the all option so that all of my material gets suggested to you, because otherwise YouTube has a nasty habit of sort of picking and choosing what it thinks you may or may not be interested in. Because you may have not looked at an aircraft before, it assumes you don't like aircraft. Okay, I think it's best if you ding the all and you get everything that I am offering. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you found it interesting, something new and different. Well, most of it was new. Very nice, and thank you for ICM for providing the kit, of course, for us to look at. And there'll be others, so please stay tuned, and hope to see you again in the not too distant future. In the meantime, thank you very much for your time. Please stay safe and stay well. Thanks very much for tuning in, and I hope to see you all very soon. In the meantime, thanks a lot, and bye for now.